Hey everybody, I'm Justin Bohn,
I'm Mike Val.
and this is the Bohn N Zano Zone, where we are always on the lanes, off the charts, and on the mic.
Strike the climate. Strike the climate.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Bohn N Zano Zone podcast. Mike, how was your Saturday so far?
Happy Saturday. So let's see, what did I do today? I tested out the new bicycle today.
Oh, you did?
Well, as we know, Monday is the big day, right?
Monday's getting ready with Amleto.
Monday is Amleto Day, so we took the bike out for a spin. I can't feel anything below my knees today.
That's not good.
No, but you know what? We're going to learn. We're going to get through it. But pretty good, and did some grilling. And yeah, now I see you have like a dent in your forehead.
Yeah,
You didn't have that last night. I saw you last night. You didn't
No.
have a dent in your dome.
we had started to unload stuff as we're in the process of moving. Today was day one. We brought a case over last night, and our trailer, you can stand up in it, walk around in it, but when you go to exit the back of the trailer, it drops down like a few inches.
Mhm.
And if you don't duck down, you hit your head. Needless to say,
And-
I hit my head pretty hard. Not a good feeling.
It would have been great if you hit your head and then your father hit his head with you. That would have been even more funny.
Probably, but I didn't do that.
And no, I mean, I saw you guys last night. You were heading out when I got to your house last night. In case anybody's wondering, I brought Justin ice cream last night.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike.
Again, it's the last hurrah before I go into the Amleto boot camp.
Yeah, I'm gonna be wishing you a lot of good luck because you're probably gonna need it.
Well, he told me to start. I told him, look, I'm not running. We're not doing any kind of running. And I told him I'm going to do bike riding because I bought a bicycle. So he told me just to do about 5 or 6 miles to start on Monday morning.
Oh,
and
God.
then do another 5 or 6 miles later in the afternoon or the evening to cool everything down. So basically the first day is 10 miles on the bike.
Basically.
So when we talk on Tuesday, either we'll have an oxygen tank, an IV pole, or I'll be like in a wheelchair because I'm not gonna be able to walk on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a good thing you sit down for this show.
That is true. All right, so let's get it started. We had a special Saturday one. So without further ado, Justin, can we bring on the first guest that we have?
Let's go right ahead.
And the president, CEO of BuddiesProShop.com, Chris Forey. Welcome back, Chris.
Hello, everyone.
What's up, bud?
Not much. Living the dream in Pennsylvania instead of Connecticut for a couple of days.
All right. So as you heard, I can barely walk right now. So what have you been up to this weekend?
Today, actually, nothing. A little lazy day. Went and visited a friend of mine who has a Amazon business here. Sells stuff on Amazon, so I want to check out his warehouse. But today was uneventful. But the other days of the week here, we've been doing some remodeling at Clearview Lane, which is
Nice.
the bowling center I grew up at. So
there was actually a question I had for you. So I'm learning more about Chris Forey every day as we go on with this partnership here. So how did you get into bowling and into the bowling business and start punching balls for a living?
Well, I probably started bowling about the same age, like say Justin and Brandon and all the other bowling kids. I remember that's what I did. I remember going to the bowling center, watching my dad bowl. My father worked for Frankie May. If anybody, Frankie,
The visionary guy, right?
visionary, and I think he's motive now or whatever. But he drills balls at the Boosts and Nationals. But my father worked for him somewhere probably when I was about 5th, 6th grade. Frankie had a street store in Reading, Pennsylvania. My father would drill balls there on a Saturday. It was probably the coolest thing. They would drive to the hammer plant in the morning at 6 a.m. in Baltimore, pick up load the van up with black hammers, come back on a Saturday, and pretty much sell out of them that Saturday. This went on every week, and I was a kid just standing there watching. I'm like, this is pretty cool that you're not in a bowling center, you can sell all these bowling balls. And then from there, my father ended up deciding to do his own thing, drilling balls in our basement. I originally bought a drill press so he could try and fix my fit. I had a lot of fit issues. So we started doing oval thumbs, things that a lot of people didn't do back then. I watched, I learned, and I went to Vincennes University. Not sure if anybody knows where that college is.
Indiana.
I guess, well, right? Yep, I went there because I worked at Clearview Lanes, the bowling center here in Pennsylvania. I worked there as a kid. I was probably about 6th, 7th grade. I told Justin before, I knew exactly what I was going to do with my life. I knew I was going to be in the bowling business, not the pro shop side of it. I always thought I'd be in the bowling center side, running or owning a center. But yeah, I went to Vincennes for a year for bowling lanes management, dropped out, came home, was working at Pepper's Farm. And my father said to me a couple months into it, I realized I wasn't going back to Vincennes. And my father said, I found a pro shop for you in Connecticut. And I said, okay. He said, for you and Dennis Real.
Oh, I like that. I love Dennis Real.
Yeah. So Dennis and I were really good friends. We still are. And I was sitting on the steps, and my father said to me, we need a name. I said, okay. And I said, well, Dennis and I, we're like buddies, we're like best buddies. Buddies Pro Shop. Well, we were best buddies until the day we went to open, and he didn't show up.
Oh.
And I was the only one there. So
Nice guy.
28 years later, I'm still there. I did leave for 1 year. If anybody knows, I did leave and go work for AMF. Ran a couple centers, but I wanted to try that. AMF came to me really hard. I was in my mid-20s. Again, that was still a dream of mine, was to prove that I knew how to run bowling centers and fix their problems. And I did that for a year, and then my father, unfortunately, he was not doing well. At that time, we actually had 7 pro shops, and it spread out through the East Coast, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania. And yeah, my father wasn't doing well, and I decided to quit working for AMF and go back to the shop. I didn't want to see any problems, and here I am ever since. 1998, 99, we launched the website.
And it's been busy ever since.
The rest is history.
Yeah. We were. Honestly, what's funny about the website is most people probably won't realize is, they see what it is today or they know it. Obviously, guys wearing the logo on the shirt. Obviously, we're going to introduce somebody new tonight. But when we started it was myself and Bill Gross, who works for me. He worked for me from 92 on. But what was interesting about that was Bill. Well, I should say there's Brian Graham, who runs Brunswick, or one of the heads of Brunswick. At that time, worked for Columbia, and he said to Bill and I, you guys need to start a website. And we were like, why would we do that? And we looked into it. He goes, you'll figure it out. You guys are smart. And Bill ended up building this website from scratch, had no idea how to do it. He bought an HTML book and did all the coding from without knowing anything. And that's how it started. And we were hoping to sell 2 balls a week, and I would pay our apartment rent, which was $300 a month. And that's all we wanted. We weren't looking for anything big.
And now you offer even drilling services to all your customers around the country. So you really have expanded in the space.
Yeah.
Yeah, initially it was just we were selling closeout balls for a distributor called Paramount in Massachusetts. They had a warehouse full of bad products. Brian Graham got a hold of me and said, okay, this is how you're getting started. You're going to move all this product. We did. And the smart thing was Bill and I both agreed that with the money we made, we actually built a new website that was better. And we built another new website that was better. And we're about 21 years into the website business, and we've launched 10 or 11 versions of the website. So we always are looking for a better version of it. And it's been enjoyable.
So now you're arguably the number 1 person in the space now. Where did you get the idea for your staff, and how did that come to the forefront?
Yeah, the very first staffer, which most people probably don't even realize, was Mike Fagan. He wore the logo for a year. It was on his left sleeve. So on tour, I realized after that first year that he was with us that the left sleeve was a bad idea because you don't see it. By the time they turn around, the camera's panning back to the next guy getting up. But Mike, I knew Mike. He bowled out of Long Island. He bowled junior events and adult tournaments at Nutmeg. So we talked. He asked me if we would do it. we did it. And then we didn't do it for a couple of years. It only lasted 1 year. And what happened then was Rhino, I met him at a trade show. We talked a little bit. Tried to help him out with his fit. Some people know that. And after we were just talking a little bit, I was like, I like to try and help other players. So obviously, once that happened, I know that the struggles they go through. Obviously, they don't make a ton of money. So Rhino, we talked, and I said, "How would you like to wear the logo?" We put it on the front. We got a price, the PBA sponsorship deal, and it started with him, and then Anthony Pepe, who has been a longtime friend and customer, went to him next, and then last year, Prather just happened to. Because of Packy and Matt Kazikowicz that worked for me, they talked to him. I don't know. I didn't know Chris Prather at the time, but they came back from the Masters and said, he'll sign with you. And I've obviously saw him on TV, and I said, that's a pretty good sign right there if he wants to sign with me. So it was him, and then Packy, who's obviously for my junior program this year. Packy, I would say, has always been a staffer, even without wearing the logo. He's always been a great supporter. So this year, I felt like it was important to put the logo on him. To try and support him in his endeavor to try and really make it on the tour. So, because I know last year he was just trying to feel his way out, see if he liked it. But I knew he was going to be full time this year. I was trying to help him out. So, yeah. And then the next guest, just same thing happened. Matt and Packy said, particularly Matt said to me about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, said, "What do you think of signing?" I won't say the name. Most have figured it out from the Instagram post, but. I said, "What do you think?" I said, "That'd be cool if it would happen. I'd love to have them." And maybe a phone call or Packy put it in place, and here we are.
So, Justin, without any further ado, let's let Mr. Forey make the formal announcement, I guess, right?
Go right ahead, Chris.
Knock yourself out.
Well, we'd like to introduce Mr. Francois Lavoie to the Buddies Pro Shop Tour family. Welcome.
There he is.
Thank you. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good, bud. How are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me, and thanks, Chris, for giving me this opportunity. I'm really excited.
Well, thank you. I think obviously when it was brought up and then you spoke on the phone, I really do think you're a great fit for us. Like I said, we are a family. That's how I look at everything that happens with our company. So, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to start this. I guess this new. Let's call it an adventure. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun, and like I said, I'm really excited to be part of the family.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So, Frankie, what have you been doing? I mean, how are things up in Canada? I mean, this is our first international guest, Justin.
Yes.
So
how are things up in Canada?
Things in Canada, I'm sure they're good. I'm actually in Wichita, so I don't live in Canada. They're actually a little different from here. I guess things up in Montreal and Quebec City are a little bit closer to how they are where you guys are at. It's a little bit stricter on the lockdowns and stuff like that. But here in Wichita, I mean, things are starting to open up again slowly. Bowling centers have started to open, so next week I'm planning on getting back into it slowly. But yeah, there hasn't been. The lockdown here hasn't been as strict as some other parts of the country, and we're already seeing places open up again. So overall, I mean, it's been pretty mellow here. We haven't had the huge spikes in cases like some other areas of the countries have had. So for that, we're pretty lucky. I mean, we also don't really live on top of each other like a lot of the bigger cities out east. So for us, yeah, we've been staying at home and taking care and being careful as much as possible, but we haven't had too much to worry about from that standpoint.
So you have been doing a little show as well, from what we've been seeing here. So how did that start? Tell us a little bit about your little operation you got going.
Yeah, it's a buddy of mine, Chris Sloan. He from Ireland. He's on tour. We travel together. We room together on tour, and we just thought, what could we do to pass the time? Because in the beginning, we didn't really know how long this whole lockdown was going to go on for. We didn't know what we were. I guess we didn't sign up for it, but we didn't know what we got ourselves into. So We started on Instagram a few times. I don't even know how long ago that was. That would have been probably end of March, beginning of April. We went live on Instagram a few times, and we had some decent feedback. But the Instagram live, I don't think is as good as the Facebook live. So we decided to move over to Facebook, and we decided originally it was just us two kind of chatting and having some drinks, and we thought, what do we like to do together? How can we include other people in that? And so we just kind of mix up some cocktails and chat, and it's pretty relaxed. It's not so much about bowling stuff. I mean, I always say, like, how many times can you ask someone what their favorite bowling ball of all time is? It seems like the questions get pretty repetitive. So for us, we try to keep it pretty chill. We just chat. We just have some guests that we get along with that are good storytellers, and we ask them some questions about stuff that have happened to them. We just had Norm this past Thursday. So we do it every Thursday, usually around 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, we just mix up some cocktails and have a drink and chat a little bit. Just keep things cool, chill, relaxed.
Justin, I can't have you having a cocktail. Your father would have my head.
Yeah, you can definitely have one, but
No.
I'll have my soda right next to me.
Well, we've had a few guests that didn't mix up some cocktails. We've had people go with the virgin rum and coke, and water. People have had. We had Timmy Mack a couple weeks ago. He was drinking water, but yeah, it's just we just try to keep it light, have some fun with it.
It kind of sounds like what we do. Justin and I started this back in January, right? Yeah, just two of us just BSing about what's going on in the world. And then once this whole COVID thing hit, we just said, we're going to take this and start doing it live and put our ugly faces out on the net. So we started, and it's been pretty good. We had the live show at the draft. I know you couldn't make it that night, but you were the first pick in the draft, so congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And we kind of just the same thing you guys are doing. We just we want to get different guests and just have some good stories and just have some fun with it, man. They need more things like this, I think, in the bowling world.
Yeah, I really think it's a good idea. There's definitely, especially with the way things are now, people have been looking for some new bowling content. So, I know probably the most famous one out there is probably Stu and Barnes doing the Beef and Barnesy show.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen a lot of people. I mean, Kyle Troop and his buddy Nate Garcia, they've started one. I have one. There's just so many out there. It's almost hard to keep track of. I think Verity and Diana have gone live a few times.
Mm-hmm.
USBC started doing one. There's a lot going on. So for bowling fans, that's really cool to see. You've got usually, I think, Beef and Barnesy are on like 3 times a week. We've got other people on off days. So almost every day you've got something to tune into if you're stuck at home and you don't have anything to do.
Do you think that you're going to keep it going when you guys are back on the road? Is that something that you plan on doing?
We don't know yet. We sort of talked about it. Originally, we only planned on doing this while we were stuck at home and we didn't have anything to do. We might. I mean, the good thing about being on the road, if we decide to keep going with it, we'll be together, so we won't have to have, the split screen and all that. We could potentially bring in guests from every specific tournament. We could have like a podcast for each of those separate tournaments with the person there in person. That might be even more fun. But we haven't decided for sure. Originally, like I said, we only planned on doing this for the few weeks that we were going to be, a few months that we were going to be on lockdown.
Yeah, your show definitely reminds me of something that like a group of guys or a group of friends would just do, basically just like around the fire kind of thing. Just basically enjoying themselves and telling stories. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Ours is definitely, I wouldn't say, it's definitely not R-rated because there's definitely some things that we can't say and some things that we can't talk about. But I guess I'd say maybe PG-13. Is that the one in between? Like, there's sometimes there's an occasional cuss word in there. We're drinking, so it's really.
Hey, you're human, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to turn anyone away, but I also kind of want to warn people. Like if you're one of those sensitive people, maybe don't tune in. You might get shocked at some of the things.
Listen, Frankie, it's not Dougie Vision, okay?
Exactly.
All right, you know what that is. We're not Dougie Vision. You're not Dougie Vision. So good stuff. So I think, Justin, I'm going to hit him with my final 10 later. After hearing that, I think we're going to hit him with the final 10.
I like that idea, but before we get into anything else about Frankie, I think it's time to bring on another staffer who we want to get his opinion on one of his new teammates.
A friend of Frankie.
Let's welcome Packy Hanrahan.
Welcome back, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, Pack.
Appreciate it. But yeah, I think it's – go ahead.
So you guys obviously have bowled together before, both coming from Wichita State, both bowled on the same team. You guys have been friends for quite some time now. So what's it like with being a past teammate and now being on the same staff together?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call him my friend, but I'm just joking around. But no, I like having Frankie on the team. It's awesome. I reached out to him because I thought he'd be a great addition to the Buddies Pro Shop. Group of staffers that we got. He definitely holds himself on a different level of professionalism, and it's awesome to have a group of friends that I can hang out with on the same staff out on tour. It's really cool.
Good stuff. And you guys bowled Wichita together, so you have the connection from there. And you were both on the team on the national championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched Frankie win.
Yeah, we were on the team for what, 3 years together?
Yeah,
at least 2. Yeah, 3 years.
Good stuff. So Packy, okay, Justin, you can take this one.
So, this is obviously during Packy's dinner time, as he has said multiple times. So, what's on the plate for you for dinner tonight, Packy?
Good question.
I think we're having some beef stew. To be honest, I'm not really sure what they're cooking down there, but it smells really good. So,
put some meat on those bones.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying for years. I don't know if that's possible.
I can give you some of mine, and what I lose, I'll just give to you, or just to New England.
Trade out a little bit.
Absolutely. Good stuff there. So, what are you up to? I mean, otherwise, Packy, just since the last time we spoke, anything going on? Just doing your own thing?
The same thing about walking the dog about 5 or 6 times a day, walking around the neighborhood by myself another 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I mean, pretty much just the same thing every day and trying not to go crazy.
Did you come to practice today? Were you there?
I was not there.
I missed you.
Yeah.
So the centers are open in Connecticut now, Chris?
No, I'm only breaking his chops because he asked me last night, at 10, 11 o'clock, are you practicing tomorrow? And I'm like, I'm in Pennsylvania. Because he can only get into Nutmeg if I'm there. So
Now, Frankie, when are they expecting to open the centers up in Wichita or in Kansas?
They already are open. They opened up last week, I think, was the last Friday. They opened up, so they've been open for about a week now.
And when was the last time you touched the ball?
Last time I touched the ball was the World Championship at the World Series. So whatever, March 15th, I think.
Wow.
It's been a while.
So I got a question about that show. So how was it eerie bowling in South Point with nobody there? I mean, it had to be something totally different.
Yeah, it was super weird. So I've had people ask me that question a few times, and I always say it's like if you're bowling an 8 a.m. squad at South Point and you're one of the first bowlers to show up at 7:15 or something. There's nobody there, and that's exactly how it was. It's almost like you're getting ready for an early morning squad, and it's like fans haven't showed up already, and they just never did because they couldn't. It was super weird, and I don't think it got weird. I don't think it really hit me until I turned around from my first shot, and there was literally no one clapping. You kind of get used to people. There's people they're obviously behind us, and there's usually people on the side on the approach, sometimes even on the lane, and usually it doesn't even matter if you split or if you strike. People will be clapping when you turn around, or there'll be some voices and some ambient noise, but there's just absolutely nothing. And South Point is just this huge facility with super high ceilings, and there's a lot of echo. It was just really, really strange. But yeah, that first shot that I threw and I turned around there's absolutely nothing going on. That was probably when it all hit me how weird it was.
And you're going to be dealing with that in 2 weeks down in Florida as well, in that strike shootout thing you guys are doing, right?
Yeah, the 8 guys that are going are going to be dealing with it. I'm not. I wasn't picked to go. I think they went. I think they went with the winners of every tournament this season. I think that's how they did it.
Yeah.
The winners of each tournament, and then if those people couldn't make it, so They went down the list. So Maldonado's in because Jesper beat him in Indian. No, it wasn't in. Was it Indianapolis?
Indy,
I think
yeah.
so.
I think it was.
Yeah. So Jesper won in Indy, but he obviously can't travel from Sweden to come here. So they went down to second place, which was Maldo. So Maldonado's in. And that's how they picked the 8 players for that. So they've got the Strike Derby and they've got the Clash that have been announced, and I think they're planning some more stuff for later this summer. I'm just not exactly sure who's all involved and what's all going to happen with that, but hopefully we'll get a chance to get back on the lanes pretty soon. I actually need to start practicing if that's going to happen because I don't know how rusty I'm all going to be.
I told you, spare shooting's a disaster to start. It's horrible.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous actually. It's one thing to take, like when I was younger, I'd bowl mostly on the weekends and take the summer off because up in Canada the weather's so nice in the summertime. Most bowling centers just shut down because nobody wants to go inside. So like when I was younger, I was used to taking summers off and I didn't really bowl much during the week. I was mostly a weekend bowler. But now that I'm used to bowling like almost every day, it's really weird to have been forced to take like 2 months off. So I don't know. I'm sure muscle memory will kick back in, and it probably won't be as bad as I think it will be, but I'm pretty nervous.
Somebody
There definitely isn't any muscle memory when you come back.
Good.
Anything that you were doing wrong, now's the time to fix it because you can't feel what you were doing before.
Right. Yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe I'll have a straight swing after this.
Maybe. Years in progress.
Yeah.
My swing's a little bit like yours. It has a little bit of a loop in it.
Yeah.
I think the problem is I tried making a spares. I told you I tried shooting spares the other day.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I couldn't make them because
that's probably. Yeah, you're probably used to that loop so much, and now that your swing is straight, your aim is off.
So I had to adjust my targeting for how much I was missing. It was all right. Everything was missing left.
So what would be when you get back on the lanes, Frankie? Like, what are you gonna like? How would you even start? Just nice and slow, like get into it, like work on something, or just go out and just throw the ball?
I'm probably just going to throw the ball for a while, and the first day I go back, there's probably going to be. I'm not going to bowl much. I think I'm going to gradually get back into it. I might go bowl like 3 games and then take some like three-step approaches or just some like shortened half swings, like five smaller steps, things like that. I'm just going to gradually get back into it. I don't really know. And I'll see how I feel too. I'm not, like I said, this is like a really weird thing that we've had to take so much time off. So it's not like I've had to do that before and come back from it. So I'm probably just the last time I had a long break was when I had lung surgery. I took like a bunch of months off, but I drilled a 12-pound ball to start up again, and then I moved up to 14 and then 15. But I won't have to do that this time. I just don't know how long it's going to take to get back to normal. But the first few days, I'm definitely going to go. Right now I'm planning on going like for 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off for like the first 2 weeks or something. Bowling 3 or 4 games in the beginning just to get loose again, and eventually I'll start making sure I'm working on certain things and making sure I'm using my legs and things like that. But in the beginning, I'm not going to do too much technical stuff. I'll just throw the ball.
Good stuff.
So
I would say I think it's amazing how many people are going out to bowl tournaments already. I mean, obviously, we've talked about this off the air about us potentially just going right to NEVA. But, like Pepe went to Florida. I think he practiced a couple of games and he went right into bowl in a tournament. It wasn't a big one. He bowled it's a state tournament. They picked up the state tournament for us. We bowled 3 games of doubles. But we see like Prather, he went and bowled a tournament last night. He's bowling today. And I think he practiced 1 day.
I think he practiced a couple of days, but I mean, he's bowling. He hadn't bowled a tournament at all, and now he's bowling. I think the tournament last night was $1,000 to enter, and then he's also bowling today, and he bowls tomorrow again, doubles. So he went from not bowling any tournaments to like 3 in a weekend. It's crazy.
Just fire right in.
Yeah, just right in.
Yeah.
Right into the biggest entry of the year.
But it seems like a lot of people are doing that. I mean, like when the center's open, they just can't wait to just get it all out. Let's go.
Yeah, that tournament last year they didn't fill it, and this year they had a waiting list. So
it looked like they had a nice crowd in the back.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm not sure what the deal is in St. Louis, but apparently have absolutely zero restrictions inside of buildings, because there was probably like 40 people in the building just watching, cheering them on.
Yeah, I didn't see too much.
Along with like the 32 bowlers plus the
There
staff that's
there
there.
was no social distancing for sure. I mean, I only looked this morning. I'm like, that's a lot of people there.
And not a single person was wearing a mask. And like around
Yeah.
here, if I'm like walking in the neighborhood, probably almost everybody wears a mask.
Yeah, we noticed that. I saw Walter Ray Bowl. We talked about a bowl tournament the other last weekend or whatever. And same thing, no masks. That will not be happening in New England.
People are like giving high fives.
Zero chance.
Yeah.
Not a chance here.
And that's what's going to be good. Like, it's going to be interesting when, like, you guys go back on tour, if certain parts of the country are going to require the mask, you know, to enter the building or whatnot. So if the PBA may stray away from, like, I would say where we are, Chris, like up in the Northeast, you know, I don't know if they have anything coming up here. I think they had the playoffs up at Carolina, but stay away from here just because of the restrictions with the mask. I don't think the guys in tour would bowl with a mask. I mean, how could you have a 6-hour block wearing this? You can't do it. I mean, am I right or am I wrong?
It's been asked like about NEVA. We talked about that before, and what these guys talk about PBA. But you know, the NEVA rule is if it goes off,
It's a foul.
We're gonna not foul. Not foul. But we're gonna have to. I mean, if the event happens, the NEVA event happens, we're gonna have to wear masks. Everybody in the building will have a mask on. You have to bowl with it on. You can't pull it down. You know, I've had a couple guys say, "Really, you're gonna do that?" I'm like, "It's a state law. It's not us. You know, we're following the protocol set forth by the state of Connecticut." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Teen Masters tournament down in Virginia that's planned for August right now. All the spectators have to wear masks. They're doing temperature checks when you walk in the building, and all the bowlers have to wear masks up until they start the block. So when you're walking around, you got to wear it. Only when you're bowling, only the bowlers can take them off.
Are they following the lane rule the USBC put out a couple of weeks ago?
With one lane?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I do know that in the past it's been 4 on a pair, and I think that's the way it's going to stay. But now with everything going on, even practice session, you have to practice with the same bowlers you're bowling the whole tournament with, which could be interesting for sure.
You did practice the same ball, you said?
The same people. So the same 3 people that you'll cross with for the 18 games of qualifying, you'll cross with for practice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it'll definitely be a different experience, and probably one anyone who bowls won't forget.
It's something that nobody's ever going to forget. It's like a bad movie come to life, basically.
Yeah.
I think back to your question, Mike, would you guys, Packy and Francois, would you guys be willing to wear masks if you had to bowl? Like, so say if you went to like a tour stop or, you know, say the World Series, they keep it going, you know, whatever events are left. They said you have to wear a mask.
Yeah, I'd be okay with it. I have a mask here that I wear when I go to like the grocery store and when I go when I have to go out and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a little more on the cautious side just because I've had some issues with my lung in the past. So even though I'm not necessarily one of the in the at-risk population, I've still had issues with my lungs. So I'm trying to be more careful for that reason. So like all those tournaments that are starting to happen again, I'm going to skip the first couple of weeks because I just don't. The risk reward for me isn't worth it. So I'm definitely going to not be competing for a few weeks just to see how things go. If everything's fine and things go back to somewhat normal, then yeah, I'll hop on. But I'll definitely be on the more cautious side. So the other thing that's funny too is I think in different parts of the country you see different attitudes too. And I don't want to politicize anything, but like here, I'm in the minority when I wear a mask. If I go to certain stores and things like that, there's a lot of people who don't wear masks here, just for whatever reason. Everyone has their own reason, but I'm certainly in the minority here. And I know up in Canada, just about everybody's wearing masks. I think it's required to just enter buildings. So it's certainly different in different parts of the country and different parts of the world. So when there's like people traveling multiple states over to go bowl the tournament, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, and I would probably prefer everybody wear masks. I mean, I just think it would be rather safe than sorry, especially with people coming from, you know, different areas. You know, if there's a guy coming from Wichita where there's, you know, not that many cases and stuff like that, who's to say the guy from New York isn't going to be carrying something with him. But yeah,
and then you have the international guys too. Forget
yeah,
about
exactly.
them.
If they can make it, yeah. And who knows?
I mean, to follow up what Frankie said, they're just about different areas. I mean, Pennsylvania, it takes from where I am at here in Pennsylvania to Connecticut, it's like a 3.5 hour ride, 4 hour ride. And in Connecticut, like Packy was saying, or like even like François was saying, we're obviously Northeast. Masks are everywhere. You see, if somebody doesn't have a mask, you're like, wow, you don't have a mask on. When we came here to Pennsylvania, I don't see any masks until I went into the grocery store. And I put a mask on to go to the Amish farm today just to pick up some asparagus. And I put the mask on, and people like looked at me like I was crazy. I was just walking into a barn to grab some asparagus and then walk out. Because where we're at, if you go onto the farm, you have to, when you pull into the driveway, you better have a mask on when you get out of the car. And it's just amazing the difference in like everybody here, like there's a party going on behind my house and a neighbor's house almost every night. Like they just don't get it. They're like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some stuff going on across the street from us too. You could hear music when we got back from unloading stuff, and it was 11 o'clock, and there was 11:30, and they were still playing music that you could hear in the house.
Right, there's a curfew in New Jersey, right?
There is.
Yeah.
8 p.m.
Some curfew. Well, that didn't last long.
No.
No, and people are starting to go back to a little bit of normalcy. But Justin, I would like to get off this gloomy topic, and I want to get. I want to get one-on-one with Frankie. I want to go 10 for 10 with Frankie.
All right, I think we can do that. Packy, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, and welcome to the family, Frankie. I'm sure it's going to be a good adventure for you, as you say, and yeah, it's going to be fun.
Thanks, buddy. Enjoy your dinner.
Yeah, Packy, enjoy your meal, buddy.
Get an early exit.
Too.
All right. So, Justin, why don't you prep Frankie and tell him what happens next?
So we're going into 10 frames of questions, right?
We'll do the 10 frames of questions.
All right. So what we like to do at the end of every show is we go one-on-one with Mike and ask him 10 random questions. Basically, anything goes. So almost like your show where it's kind of chill, kind of laid back, basically sitting around the fire, the stories that you want to hear. So we want to hear what you got, and we're looking forward to some of these answers.
So I don't have anything prepared for this, so I'm just gonna let him fly.
Okay.
All right, Frankie. I'm gonna go with one of my my staple questions here. Who is the cheapest guy on tour?
The cheapest guy on tour.
Yeah, if you're out to dinner, somebody gets up and beats their part of the bill. Who is it?
I'm gonna. Man, that's a tough one. I mean, the easy answer would be to say Barnes because everybody always picks on him. So I don't want to say him. I'm gonna go someone. I'm gonna go with Mitch.
Mitch,
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
All right.
Somebody else said that too. I think Packy said that.
Yeah, Packy said that. Yeah. But Barnes is the staple answer. Every single person said Barnes.
That'd be the easy answer.
All right, so we're one down. Let's go to number 2. This is a new one that I added to the routine, Justin. Ready for this one? So, Frankie, obviously when you bowl bad, it's never you. It's always, the lanes or the mechanic or the fan wasn't working. It's never the bowler, right?
Yeah.
Who whines the most on tour and complains the most on tour when they don't bowl bad? Oh, when they don't bowl good, rather.
Man.
I'm going right for the gut tonight, Justin. I'm going right for the gusto.
Yeah, I can see that. You didn't let him in pretty easy.
If you were to ask a couple of my ball reps, they might bring my name up, but I'm not going to go with. I'm definitely not going to say me. I think Kyle Troop.
Really?
He kind of I think he expects to bowl well literally all the time. So every single time he doesn't strike, he's always got his arms up in the air and he's like, "What is going on? How did I not strike?" Almost every time. So I'm going to go with him.
That's a good one, Justin.
I've noticed that. I've seen that a couple of times.
I mean, the guy. I've seen the guy get mad going for a 410, and obviously he missed it because how often do you make a 410? And I've seen him. Right. I've seen him get upset after missing a 410. I'm like, come on, man.
All right. I like that one. Justin, I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Somebody asked that real quick. Yes. What about Simo?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't ask who fries out the most.
All right, so you know what? So let's go to 3 then. So speaking of frying out, what's the best fry out you've seen on tour, and by who?
The best fry out. Man, I wish I was better at this. It always takes me a while to kind of to think of something on the spot like that. I think there was one time this year in Columbus, Simonson, we just mentioned him. He ripped the scoring unit off the ground. I think it was in match play. I don't remember what part of the tournament it was in, but yeah, he just, you know how sometimes you see bowlers just grab the scoring unit and they just kind of pull it up, but they're all bolted down, so they never come out. It did. That was at Wayne Center. Yeah, he kind of fell back down. I don't think he was expecting it to come off, but it did, and he kind of fell back. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, we were out in Michigan for one of the PBA 50 stops, and Pete came back, and needless to say, he wasn't very happy, and he punched one of the Brunswick scoring monitors and like cracked it, and like shattered the glass, and denied it. Like,
how do you deny it?
Everybody on the pair denied it. He denied it, and it was on camera.
Yeah.
Like, Flo had it on camera when he came back. You could see him punch it. Oh, that was an interesting one.
Well, it's Weber. Do you expect anything different?
I always look at, if you're going to create violence on the machines and everything, just take it. I have no problem. I put my hand through things, so it happens.
All right, so let's go to 4. Who's your toughest opponent on tour, Frankie?
You shortened that one up a little bit.
I did, and that's Deandra's fault. Deandra answered that one really well.
So if that's a hard question, if you sit down and your opponent needs 3 in the 10th to win, who's the guy you don't want to see?
There you go. That's a good one.
Who don't I want to see needing 3 in the 10th? I'm gonna go with Norm. I feel like with Norm, unless you've mathematically won, you haven't yet. It just Norm's the guy. Like if you're bowling him in match play, you just don't want to be. I've heard this a few times from a couple other people. Norm's the guy. Like when they did the best of 7s, Norm's the guy you don't want to be up 3-0 against. he's just that guy. He always finds a way. And if he needs 3 in the 10th, the clutchest bowler I've probably ever seen is probably Tommy. But if I'm up against somebody who needs 3 in the 10th, I think Norm's always going to find a way.
That's pretty good. So let's go to number 5. This is a different one, Justin. This is one I just thought of on the fly here. So, Frankie, I've heard you like to cook.
A little bit, yeah.
What is your signature dish? What if Frankie Lavoie is making his dinner, then he knows like I can ace this every time my eyes closed. What are you making? And what is poutine, by the way? I went up to Montreal. I had to go to Montreal for work about 2-3 years ago, and they had poutine. I'm like, what the hell is poutine? So, what's your dish, and what is poutine?
So that's a 2-parter. All right.
Yeah.
Well, the first part, anything pasta. I'm a big pasta guy. I love pasta. Whether it's I think I make a pretty good bolognese.
Ooh.
So like linguine with bolognese sauce or my favorite's probably carbonara.
I like that. All right.
But anything like pasta with ground sausage and spinach and cream or something like that.
Like an Alfredo.
Sort of. See, I'm not really an Alfredo guy. That's the funny thing.
Oh.
I just what was that?
Alfredo is like really heavy. It tastes good, but it's like just sits in there.
Yeah, I've never. Yeah, I mean, I'll eat it. Like if someone serves it to me, it's pasta, so I'll eat it. But it's not something I would ever order if there's any other option.
Okay.
And
what is poutine? Yeah.
Poutine. Yeah, that's like a, what do you call it? Comfort food from back home. We it's 3 ingredients. It's very simple. It's French fries, cheese curds, and I'm gonna say gravy, but it's more of it's more like a brown sauce. It's thinner than gravy. It's not as thick as like your typical Thanksgiving gravy. But yeah, it's just French fry. It's good drunk food. It's good it's definitely not good for you. You shouldn't have it too much. And I have too much of it every time I go back home. But yeah, it's French fries, cheese, and gravy.
So it's not an Amleto approved food, you're saying?
No, I wouldn't think so.
All right.
I think I got one.
Go ahead, Justin. You go to number 6 then.
So you've obviously had many memorable moments in bowling, not just on the PBA Tour, but in bowling. Winning the U.S. Open, shooting 300 on TV, winning the singles title and a team title. What is your most memorable moment so far in bowling?
The most memorable. I think I'm going to go with the second U.S. Open win, just because of the way that week played out. I mean, obviously the first one up until that happened, the first U.S. Open would have been my answer. Like obviously shooting 300, it was for my first title, all that stuff. That was all pretty special. But the second one, I think, was even personally for me was even more special, just because I had a huge qualifying block. I think it was on the second day of the U.S. Open. I had a huge like 300 something over when nobody else was really bowling that well. So at one point after 2 days, I was in the lead by like hundreds of pins over second place, which is really good. But then the third day happened, and I just had an okay day, and other guys had really good days. So that gap shrunk. And then we started the way they're doing it now. We've got 3 different oil patterns for the 3 qualifying blocks, and then the 4th pattern is definitely the most important one, because you're bowling the cashers round and all 24 games of match play on it. So if you don't match up to the 4th pattern, it doesn't matter what you did in the qualifying, because you're just going to tank. So that's exactly what happened. I was in the lead, and we get to the cashers round, and I struggled quite a bit. So I think I fell down. I might have fallen down to second. So I've given away like hundreds of pins that I was in the lead by. And then the first block of match play comes on. We're on the same pattern that we bowled the cashers round on, and I still struggle, especially in the last 2 games of the block. I just can't, like, the ball returns were up pretty high, and I couldn't get enough momentum to get enough speed to throw the ball over the gutter. So I struggled a lot in the 7th and 8th games in match play, and I dropped. And I think at one point before the last match play block, I was in 4th or 5th, and I was basically fighting to stay on the show. And that's when finally, after we'd bowled 24 games on it, finally I sort of figured it out and managed to bowl well and win some games and work my way back up to second. So for that reason, like, the resiliency, I think, makes it that much more special, because I was on I don't want to say free fall, because it wasn't a disaster, but I definitely wasn't bowling as well as I should have. But then that last match play block, I was able to put something together, and that the cashers, not the cashers round, the position round at the very end, that's when I struggled every single, like, my average on that pattern in game 8 was probably 165. And I managed to bowl a pretty good game against Sean, and I got 9 a couple times, and he ended up beating me and taking the number 1 spot. But we were bowling for the number 1 spot after it seemed like I was maybe going to miss the show. So for that reason, that was a pretty special win.
Good stuff there. We're up to 7 now, Justin, right?
I think so.
We're up to 7. So I'm going to go back to the U.S. Open. Do you ever wear the jacket around?
I don't, but I've had a few people ask me. Stu's a big proponent. He would love for me to just wear it around at roll call before we start tournaments, and they call up my name, and yeah, just one sec, guys. Let me just hang my jacket real quick.
Yeah, Kirk, give me 30 seconds here. I need a hanger.
Yeah, it was the like the only thing that I had over Belmo, and so whenever I'd see him and he'd try to give me shit, he'd try to like succeed at giving me shit, because he's one of the best in the world right now, the best in the world. And that was my only thing that I always went up against. I always replied. I always went, so where's your jacket? Where's your green jacket? And sure enough, it didn't take long. Now he has one, and I can't say that to him anymore.
You have 2 green jackets, though.
That's true. I did have a chamois at this year's U.S. Open in Nebraska. I did have a chamois, and I wrote, a lot of people write their names on the chamois so they don't lose it. Mm-hmm. I just wrote 2-time U.S. Open on it, or 2-time U.S. Open champ on it. And so that way nobody else, Norm and Walter, I think, were the only 2 other guys there that could have taken the chamois. And then it was a rotogrip chamois, though, so eventually I had to swap it out for a storm chamois. So I crossed out the 2 and wrote 0 and gave it to Stu. 0-time U.S. Open champ.
I like that. That's good.
That's
so
good.
How about let's go to 8. What's your most embarrassing moment on the road?
It's
a stickable question here.
Yeah, that's a good one. My first U.S. Open, and you can go back to, at that time it was Extra Frame. You can go back and look at that. My first U.S. Open was 2015 in Dallas area, and I'm bowling match play against Stu, and I didn't really know Stu at the time, but we're bowling match play, and I think I shot a 10 pin, and the deadwood came back out, and it wasn't that far out, but I still, at that time, I wasn't used to clearing my own wood, and I think like in college they always let people come down and clear the wood for you. So I wasn't used to throwing a ball down the gutter to clear it. And so, yeah, I'm in the U.S. Open in match play and Extra Frame's on, and I'm bowling against Stu, and there's a dead wood, and I grab my ball and I throw it, but I didn't throw it hard enough, so it just stayed there. I didn't clear it. I hit the pin, and the ball kind of stopped up against it, and the rake came down, and the pin and the ball were in front of it, so I had to throw another ball and try to get rid of it. So that was pretty embarrassing.
All right. I got one. Let's go to 9. Canadian guy. A lot of good bowlers out of Canada. Billy Rowe, Mark Buffa. Who was your role model in Canada? Did you have a role model, like a Canadian bowling role model growing up?
Yeah, I think when I was younger and I was first starting to think about coming to school, George Lambert was one of the big influences. He was at Wichita State at the time when I was starting to think about coming to school. So he was definitely one of the big ones. And at that time too, he went on like 3 or 4 years in a row where he'd win team trials by hundreds. We do total pinfall team trials. So he'd win team trials by hundreds of pins every year. And so he was just incredible to see. Bowling, I got to bowl with him one of the times. We bowled 3 days of our team trials, and we cut to the top 18 for like a round robin match play type final. And I bowled with him one time, and he was so sharp at that. He doesn't bowl anymore, but back then he was just so sharp. He was so good. We were bowling on a long pattern. He's trying to hook it, and it doesn't work. So we end up bowling against each other. We get to the pair. He throws one shot in, doesn't work, moves. So he gets 9 spare, moves to the right with, I don't remember what ball it was, moves to huge move right on a long pattern. He just saw something that I'm like, what information do you have that the rest of us don't? You know, he just made a huge move right, struck out for 290 that game. And he was just incredible. So for me, he was probably the biggest inspiration as far as bowlers from Canada. Patrick Girard was always a big one because he's from Quebec, and in the early 2000s, he made a few shows on tour, but I'd have to go with George Lambert for that.
That's a good one. So I have number 10, and this is one I've never asked before, guys. So obviously French Canadian, you obviously speak French, right?
Yeah.
If you let one fly on TV in French, are they going to fine you, not knowing what you said?
I don't know.
If you drop an F-bomb in French,
yeah,
we're not going to know what you're saying because you don't have the subtitles on ESPN. Kirk's not going to know what you're saying. But would they fine you for saying like a bleeping 10 pin in a different language?
I don't know that they could, because unless they have
That's a good question, right?
Yeah, unless they have an official translator there that could tell them, yeah, that's what he said. That's a finable offense. But if they don't know, who's to say that I didn't say I love my mom, or I could have said anything, and they don't know, so they probably can't find me. Now, if I miss a 5 pin on TV, I probably won't say I love my mom. But if they, that's a good question. I don't know. I know for a fact that if they did that, I think Jesper would have had a couple of fines, because I've learned quite a bit of Swedish just bowling next to Jesper. But that's a really good question. I don't think they could.
Well, Frankie, I don't want to see that happen to you. So let's try to keep it on the PG level on ESPN, please, or Fox, or wherever you're bowling these days.
Keep it in English, so that way they know to find me for sure.
And Leto said that, Justin. Didn't he say that he did that once? He said something in Spanish, and Randy called him out on it on TV?
No, I think he actually said it. I think he actually dropped an F. He was like, he came back and he was just like, and just yelled it. Like
in English or Spanish?
I think it was in English.
Oh. Ouch. Well,
it might have been in Spanish, and Randy might have said whatever he just said. It wasn't very good because it echoed.
Well, of course. Can you imagine if you let one go in South Point when there was nobody in the building?
Yeah. There's no getting around that one.
Here, I have one other one. This is totally off the topic. Go back to the show at South Point, the World Championship. Like if you get into it, you're bowling head to head, right? Let's say you're down in the match, you throw a triple, you cut the lead, and you take the lead in the match. Like in that spot, you really can't give your opponent the business. Like could you really get pumped up knowing there's 17 people in the building rather than having a full like crowd of people? Like was your mindset different, like on the head to head level? Like you really couldn't like slap one out, or you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's a little different. I'd say my answer to that would be that normally I'm a little bit more reserved than some of the other players, so I don't think that it affected me necessarily as much. Now there are some players that like to play to the crowd a little bit, but I think in general, when players get into it, it's mostly for themselves, not necessarily for the crowd. So I could still see. It was kind of unfortunate because the last two matches when EJ bowled against Simo and when Simo bowled against Belmo, the matches it seemed like they were over pretty early on. So we didn't see too much of animation. Like the guys didn't really get too into it because EJ bowled about 105, and in the final, Simonson I think started with 2 opens and Belmo put it on early. So there wasn't much to get excited about. But yeah, I think definitely like. If someone wins, I don't know how you react to winning $150,000 when there's nobody there to cheer for you. It definitely would have been weird.
Yeah, like I just know, like if I'm bowling you heads up and you're slapping shots out, there's 15 people in the building. Like I want to trip you. Like that's just to me that would be like unprofessional. You know what I mean? Like I get it. You want to into the moment, a big shot. Yeah, you slap your hands, but you kind of can't do that in that atmosphere. Like because you're literally just one-on-one. There's nobody else there.
Yeah.
Chris, do you agree with that or no?
Absolutely not.
Really?
You let it fly. I don't know. I mean, I grew up.
Chris always let it fly.
I grew up bowling action. Sometimes it might be you and the other guy. You know. I mean, you might be the only 2 people in the building, or it might be a couple people watching. You know, you just when emotions fly, you let them fly. You know, it is what it is. Your job.
Yeah, I do feel like there's a sort of relationship between the bowler and the crowd there that develops. And like for example, in the first match, I struck in the 10th to force Chris to strike to beat me, and I do think that if there had been a crowd, I would have gotten into it a little bit more because of that relationship between the player and the crowd. You kind of feed off of their energy and things like that. And so since there wasn't anyone there, I don't remember what the final score was. It was a pretty high scoring first match, and I think it was 250 to 240. So at that point, you know, you're striking out in the 10th to force him to strike. I think I would have probably reacted a little bit more, maybe add a little pressure on him, but it just didn't really happen. I'm just there by myself wanting to strike, and that's it. There's really nothing else there.
Good stuff. Well,
it was a really weird show though. I hope we don't have to do that for too long.
And I hope that doesn't happen when you bowl the playoffs. I'm sorry, the league series up in Maine. You want to have those maniacs up in Maine,
right? We definitely do, and I've talked about that on a few different shows now. I do think that atmosphere is really cool, even though I'm not necessarily someone that gets into it outwardly and vocally. I do think that an atmosphere like that might bring out a side of Frankie that people haven't seen before.
Oh,
a lot of players. When you're in that moment, because I went there to watch Prather win the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think any player in that moment will change a little bit how they normally are because of the energy in the building.
Yeah, for sure. I've always been a proponent of trash talk. There should be more trash talking in bowling. There should be heckling. People should be allowed to do whatever they want. I don't think it should be so serious all the time.
I like that. So I'll give you one more. So you're into the heckling then and the trash talk. And so what's the dirtiest thing you've ever done while you're bowling, like in a match? Like I know about the chapstick trick. You put the chapstick in a thumb hole. Have you ever done anything like that? Or
no, I've never done anything to physically. It's all mental stuff, and I don't really do too many things. But there's a few times when need a strike to win, and I don't. And I turn around and the other player can step up to win. And there's a few times when on tour we're bowling round robin, and the other player can step up to win, and I'm penciling in my 30 bonus spins on my sheet because just let the other player know that you're not going to strike here. Just some mind games like that. But overall, I think I haven't done. I haven't done too many of those things. I don't think, but they happen in the heat of the moment.
I like that. Well, Justin, I'm done with my 10. On the whim, I think I did a pretty good job tonight with no script. So Frankie did a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And there we go. and we hope to see. Everybody wants to see it. We hope to see it soon.
Hopefully in the PBA league.
Hopefully in the PBA league. They moved it to the fall, so hopefully that. I don't know how things are going to be up in Maine. They've had some pretty heavy restrictions from what I heard. So we'll see how that all plays out, and hopefully that'll be well. Hopefully I'll be included in some of those PBA events they're having later in the summer. But if not, I'm definitely excited for the league, the Masters if that's rescheduled, the playoffs. There's a lot of things to look forward to. So thanks again for having me. It was a pretty cool show.
Frankie,
Go Sharks.
It was awesome. Thank you very much. Stay safe, and we hope to see you out there soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Stay safe, you too.
Yes, thanks again for joining us. Welcome to the BuddiesProShop.com family. That's going to wrap up our show tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're watching on Facebook, like the page, follow the page, so you always know when we go live. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel so you always know. But that's going to wrap up our show tonight. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Frankie. Once again, welcome. And that's it from the Bohn N Zano Zone. Everybody have a great weekend.
We'll be back Tuesday.
Yes, we will.
Got to plug Tuesday.
Plug Tuesday. Danielle McEwen right here, 6 o'clock. And then on Thursday, we will be having the man who cannot get any higher up at Brunswick. Corey Dykstra will be joining us Thursday night at 6 o'clock. So be sure to tune in on Tuesday and Thursday. But for now, that's it.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend, everybody.
Be safe.
You too.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Frankie.
See you later.